student, now we are going to start a new thing. But before we are starting a new thing, my student, we have to recall that those points that I've mentioned to you in the previous session, they are very important while you have been asked to explain either the features that govern the gaseous exchange or the factors that govern the gaseous exchange. You have to place them, and they are very important while you are explaining one by another. So it is better for you, my student, to understand things. The matter of understand things, it will be easy for you now to answer any kind of question that you might face. So now, my student, you are welcome again in this session. Now we are looking on the oxygen and the carbon dioxide transport in the vertebrate. So now we are going to see how does the carbon dioxide is transported. It is transported. Tunasema tu carbon dioxide inatolewa ndani ya mwili, inatolewa nje ya mwili by exhaled the gases. So how does the carbon dioxide produced within a body of an organism, and how does it removed? Not only that, but also transportation of oxygen. We have seen that the oxygen, it has a huge demand, or it is required in a maximum within a body of an organism, since it performs several functions. And we have seen that we have seen more further that without oxygen, a person cannot survive. So how does this oxygen enter the body of an organism? And it is supplied into several tissue. Inafikaje kule kwenye tissue? Oxygen inafikaje kwenye let's say for example into several organs, for example into the heart, into the several tissue, for example into the liver, into the spleen, and so on. They demand the presence of oxygen. So even into the muscle also is the tissue, into a gland. How does that oxygen enter into such kind of place? So here now you are going to understand how does that oxygen diffuse from the alveoli to that tissue and so on. But my student, the point that you have to know here, we are going to talk about a vertebrate. When we are talking about a vertebrate, a good example is a human being. You as a human being. So how does that oxygen is transferred into your body? And now we are saying that oxygen and carbon dioxide are the respiratory gases that have to be transported from one part of the body to another. So the gases that we are talking is oxygen and carbon dioxide. And the oxygen and carbon dioxide into your body, it should be transported from one region to another region. The oxygen should be transported from the alveoli to the tissue. The carbon dioxide should be transported or should be removed into the body, since the carbon dioxide has no functioning within the body of an organism. So it is like, it is a waste now. So now how does that oxygen carbon dioxide are removed is where now here we are going to start. Now we will see the just like introduction. And in the next session we are going to see the a clear explanation. How does the oxygen move, carbon dioxide, and so on. So now let's proceed. And we are saying that oxygen is transported from the respiratory surface to the respiring body tissue, and carbon dioxide has to be transported from the respiring tissue to the respiratory surfaces. Now you can see hii carbon dioxide pamoja na oxygen zinafanya kazi in vice versa maana, kwa maana kwamba carbon dioxide inatakiwa kuondolewa kwenye tissue kuenda kwenye surrounding environment. Now here you have seen carbon dioxide has to be transported from the respiring body tissue, for example from the muscles. Carbon dioxide are produced It should be removed quickly. So how that carbon dioxide is removed quickly? Now we are going to see. But also, as I have said, this oxygen and carbon dioxide, they work in a vice versa manner, kwa maana kwamba ile oxygen sasa ndani ya mwili inahitajika, kwa maana kwamba now you can see oxygen are transported from the respiratory surface, that is from the alveoli, to the respiring body tissue, for example into a muscles. So ile oxygen inatolewa kwenye respiring respiratory surface, that is alveoli, from the respiring body tissue, for example into the muscles, whereby inaenda kufanya kazi nyingi zaidi. So how does that oxygen is transported? Now we're going to see. But also the thing that you have to know is that vertebrates such as mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish have a variety of respiratory surfaces, ranging from the gill in the fish and tadpole to a lung in adult amphibian, reptiles, and the mammals. That is the thing that you have to know. Kwa maana kwamba when we are talking about vertebrates, since we are saying that we are going to discuss the transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide in vertebrate. So tukiongelea vertebrate organism, tutaongelea birds, tutaongelea mammals. Hapa kwenye mammals tutamkuta human being, monkey, chimpanzee, and so on. All of those, they range in this class, or that subclass, that is a mammal. But also when we are talking another vertebrate is called the birds. Also birds, they use oxygen and carbon dioxide. So you're going to see how that the carbon dioxide and oxygen are removed and enter into the body tissue. But also not only birds, in the vertebrate we have reptiles. We have also reptiles, and when we are talking about reptiles, we are talking about the lizards. We are talking about the crocodile. All of them, they lie under this reptile. So how do they breathe now? Is where now here we are going to discuss. But also we have amphibians. And when we are talking about amphibians, including the toads, the frogs, the Kihansi frog, and so on. All of them, they are found in the amphibians. So also amphibians, they use to transport the oxygen and to remove carbon dioxide. But lastly, we have fish. Also fish, though they are found within the water or in the aquatic environment, but also they respiring by taking in oxygen from the water. Since within the water also there is the presence of oxygen. So they take they take oxygen, and that oxygen it will be used into their body. But also while they are taking oxygen, they tend to remove carbon dioxide. So now we have seen that this organism, specifically starting from the mammal to fish, all of them, they have their own respiratory surfaces. And when we are saying respiratory surface, that is the area whereby the gaseous exchange can take place. For example, in mammal we have seen that they use lungs. In birds also they have lungs. Even in the reptiles, they have lungs, but not well developed as in the birds and in mammal. But also when we are talking about in the fish now, in amphibians and fish, amphibians they use gills and the lungs. But the fish, they use primitive mode, that is a gills only. But now you can say that they ranging from a gills in a fish now, you can see, and the tadpoles, that is the amphibians and frog. And to the lungs in the adult amphibians, the adult amphibian, they possess a lung. So ile lungs ndio ambayo inasaidia transportation of oxygen together with the carbon dioxide, the same as in the reptile and the mammal. So this vertebrate ambao wamekuwa more advanced, hapa tutakuwa tunaongelea kina mammals, the human being, the monkey, All of them, they are mammals and they have a well-developed respiratory surfaces. But also reptiles, also they have well-developed compared to the birds and so on. So my student here, let's end here. But this transportation of the oxygen and carbon dioxide, we're going to focus, or we're going to look in the next session. And by saying so, this marks the end of our today's session. So thank you for your attentively listening and for following us, Educare TZ. And bye bye. Have a nice moment.